Indiana Jones, but fully centered around magic. A bit ridiculous, a bit campy. And Ezekiel getting a love interest is not much better. Like, oh yes, love, yay, kiss at the end, huzzah! I have obscure taste, I guess. we'll call this productive. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. We're gonna talk about something that I don't think I ever originally talked about before. Well, we're talking about the reboot of something that I don't think I ever really talked about before, which is unfortunate because it's one of my favorite universes in visual media. So we're gonna talk about the Librarians, the universe as a whole, probably a little bit, but more specifically, their rebooted like sequel series to the original show, The Librarians, the next chapter. Like I said, I haven't really talked about Librarians on this channel a whole lot, which is unfortunate because, like I said, it's one of my favorite shows. So we're gonna get a little bit into the three movies that kickstarted the universe, the original show, and then we'll break down the next chapter. So the movies follow, in overall context, The Librarians is basically Indiana Jones, but fully centered around magic. So like Indiana Jones has aspects of magic brought into it, but it's not like centered around it. He's not going after something because of the magic. He's going after an artifact that is just historically an artifact. And there usually tends to be some sort of magical twist to it to add a little more like plot tension or whatever else and stakes for it. This context, we have the Librarian, who is a person selected from the greatest minds in the world to come to the library, which is it is basically a magical storehouse for magical artifacts. The knowledge of, like, all the knowledge of the world is kept there. It's just this infinite, like, labyrinth of a library that is full of all the magic and all the history and all the arts and whatever else of the world. And it's like acts to preserve all of this knowledge and protect the world from all of this magic that could do so much harm in the wrong hands. And so we have the Librarian, who's picked from the greatest minds on Earth to come to the library, and he acts as basically the advocate of the library. So he goes out, gets and collects magical artifacts so that they do not get misused and cause damage to the world, permanent damage to the world. It's just such a fun plot line, and it's also so campy. Honestly, it can be pretty ridiculous and pretty campy at a lot of times. It's got its action and its drama and, you know, its serious moments, but overall it is definitely leans more toward some of that comedic and a little bit ridiculous stuff. But it does the balance pretty well. Like, it's tipped more towards comedic and like campy and that kind of thing, but only slightly. And so the balance is done pretty well throughout the entirety of this universe. So the movies follow Flynn Carson, the latest of the Librarians, and there's three movies, so we go on like three different adventures with him. And then we have the original series, The Librarians, where he gets a new guardian, which is the librarian's protector, because librarians are chosen for their mental capability, not always their physical, like, protect themselves capability, and so they have their guardian to help protect them and act as kind of the companion for them. So he gets a new guardian. This is 10 years into Flynn Carson's career as a librarian. He has been alone for a lot of that, and so he doesn't feel he needs a guardian, but the library has invited her, so he's like, I can't really not accept her. So he begrudgingly accepts this guardian, and then they find out that candidates for librarian, so the people that were invited for selection when Flynn came when Flynn came all those years ago, are being targeted, hunted down, and killed. And so they have to go after them, and they manage to like save and protect 3 of these librarian candidates, and that kickstarts this whole series where they now know magic is real, they know what the library is, they kind of understand this position that they missed because Flynn made it to the interview before them. And so the first season they go through, and at the end of the first season, all 3 of them are also accepted as librarians, so now there are 4 librarians. And then we go through, there's 4 seasons, so we have then like 2 or 3 seasons of just adventures with all of the different librarians. And it's so fun, and it's so cool to see how they take all these different like mythological things, these artifacts, and put a magical spin on them, and they just integrate so much culture and whatever else into all of these different objects that they have to go and they have to collect and protect the world from. And it's just so cool to see how it all plays out, and it's just, again, it's very much a bit ridiculous, a bit campy, but it's so good. And it does have its very serious moments, it does have its very sad moments, and it has that very good balance for them. And so I just really enjoy so much of this series. It has one episode that is my least favorite for a multitude of reasons, but partially because of a particular relationship between one of the librarians and a character that's introduced in that one. Like, there's 2 episodes in a row where they try to give Cassandra and Ezekiel, so I should give you character name context. Flynn is the original librarian, his new guardian is Eve, and then the librarian candidates they save that eventually become librarians are Jacob Stone, Ezekiel Jones, and Cassandra Killian. So Stone has 1 or 2 off and on kind of romantic flings, I guess, throughout the series, and then there's 2 episodes, I think, right in a row where they try to give Ezekiel a love interest. She's so meh, and I don't care about her at all. It was a little bit of a weird episode. And then they try to give Cassandra a love interest, but it was a lesbian love interest. I didn't care about any of the characters involved in this episode. There were so many issues I had with that episode. It's my least favorite episode of the entire series. And Ezekiel getting a love interest is not much better. So yeah, when they try to give love interests within an episode, it doesn't work super well. I feel like Jacob Stone's work a little bit better because it's never a full romance, really. It's just sort of the implications, and they have like little moments and they connect. But I don't think he ever really, correct me if I'm wrong, you librarian geeks, I don't think he kisses any of his love interests. Because there's kind of ghost lady in the Tesla lamppost stand one, lamppost town one. He does not kiss her. And then there's summer camp lady who I also don't believe he kisses. So I don't, like, that's also part of it, I feel like. Because they just, like, the characters are there for 1 episode, so you have some, like, romantic implication, whatever else, but it doesn't really go beyond that. Whereas when they tried to give Ezekiel a love interest and Cassandra a love interest, they kind of, like, fast-tracked it, and they're like, oh, yes, love, yay, kiss at the end, huzzah! And then the character never shows up again, so you're just like, what the heck was that for? So that's really the only issue I have is the show overall is those 2 episodes that don't really make sense. Because clearly the plot is to get to that end kiss, so then the plot is kind of clunky and it doesn't work quite as well as the other episodes, so they're just weird and very skippable. But other than that, I really enjoy the entirety of the original series. And now we get to rant about Librarians, the next chapter. So, I don't remember when technically Librarians got canceled. Yet another show that I really enjoyed but got canceled because I like the shows that get canceled. I have obscure taste, I guess. Anyway, so it got rebooted. This April, I think, is when it came out. I did not know this happened until about a month ago. And then I was a little iffy about it because, you know, how remakes, and it's like, if you've seen anything on this channel, you know how I feel about like remakes and reboots that have come out in nowadays. It's bad. So I tried not to be overly excited about it, and I just sort of forgot it existed. And then, like 3 weeks ago, I went, you know, what the heck, we'll try it. I'd seen some scene or whatever blip up on YouTube because YouTube and Pinterest are like in all of my show recommendations, and sometimes people. But anyway, so I saw something that I went, you know, what the heck, we'll try it. Why not? I'm kind of in a Librarians mood, and watching new episodes might be more, you know, not more fun, but like productive. We'll call this productive. But anyway, so I watched that. It's a 12 episode season. Binged that in like a week and a half, and was very pleasantly surprised. My goodness. One, I think this is the first show that Noah Weil is involved in, that I've seen, that Noah Weil is involved in as like producer. I don't remember what his role is in the Librarians universe, but he had the same role like as a executive producer or something in this series, which probably helped keep it to the heart of the series itself. But so that, I think I attribute some of the quality, that's the word I'm looking for, quality of the show to that. But it's interesting because it's the first show that I've seen like in the credits as an executive producer or whatever, as where he's not starring as a main character. Because the Librarians movies, he was involved in that on a administrative capacity. In those movies, he was Flynn Carson. In the Librarians series, he was involved in that administratively. He was Flynn Carson, and he was there, and he was a main librarian and all of that. He stepped back a little bit in season 4, but he was still like a main character. And this reboot series, he doesn't show up at all. So that was interesting. I'm sure there's other stuff that he's like been producer or whatever of that he doesn't show up in. But this is the first thing I've seen, because he also was involved in Falling Skies in that capacity, and was, I'm blanking on the dad's name, but he was the main character, the dad of the main family, whose name I am blanking on, and that's really sad. But anyway, random fact, not important. Hee. The Librarian's next chapter follows Vikram Chamberlain, considered the rogue librarian who was from the 1800s. He used magic more than used the artifacts, used magic, whatever else, and was a little more flippant with the use of those things than any other librarian, so he was labeled a rogue librarian. Some even called him a bad librarian. Excuse me. Anyway, he is trying to stop I think it's something Gregor. I don't remember the guy's first name. They're Serbian. Yes, Serbian. From getting the Sword of Ares, which allows someone to win any fight that they get into. It protects them from any threat. So we start out with them getting into the the tomb of Attila the Hun, the last bearer of the sword, and Vikram traps himself and Gregor in a time bubble. He has a plan to get out, but it goes wrong, and now, jump to 2025, in the Librarians universe, he is saved by Jacob Stone, who drags him out of the time bubble. And now he is stuck in his future, in our present, to him the future, and everyone involved in the library is telling him he cannot go back, even though he left his love behind. And so we have him dealing with that as a man out of time. They do his character very well. I really enjoy Vikram. And he has his moments of feeling the loss of being away from his time. He has this whole disconnect with the future, now his present, where he doesn't really want it to be real because eventually he plans to go back. And having this development of him realizing, no, I can't go back. I will never go back. This is my present. This is my home now. And that's such a cool development to see. And we have moments of him like actively, in some sense, working against the library in order to create something to go back in time. There's an episode centered around that, and it's so good. We have the new protector, like Vikram's protector, Charlie, who is a rejected guardian. So she was a candidate to become a guardian, but she was passed over after finishing the trials, and then gets called back by Jacob to help Vikram, because Vikram, in his attempt to figure out what the heck is going on, releases a large amount of magic back into the world. He uses this to bring his version of the annex to the library back, so that he can connect to the library and hopefully find a way back to his love, Anya. And so now there's this uptick of magic in the world again. And so Charlie gets called in to help him kind of deal with that. Stone tasks him with, I'll give you 6 months to get all of this mess you've created under control. And so that's what he's doing. Charlie's called in to be his guardian. And then obviously, because librarians, he has 2 companions with him. They're considered just random civilians. We have, do not blank on her name now, Lysa, who is kind of very science-y and whatever else, and is kind of the non-believer in magic for a little while, like refuses to say it until like the end of the series, and having this development of that in itself as her becoming a believer in magic, and also her accepting this group of friends that she has found, this found family that they create, because she never had any family and she only had like one friend in her childhood. And so she's accepting these people and allowing them to bring them in, and realizing that she can't have a family. And then we have Connor, who is a disgraced college professor because he delved a little too deep into the ideas of the arcane and magic and that kind of thing. And he tried to share what he had learned with like the school board or whatever, and they laughed him out of the college and went, yeah, right, you clearly can't teach, you're not teaching on facts. And so then he becomes an internet conspiracy theorist trying to reveal magic and the library and all of this to the world because he wants them to know the truth. And so obviously he goes searching for the library and ends up finding it, along with Lysa, and they all kind of come together when Vikram brings the annex back. And so they're thrown together as the motley crew, and then they are all helping clean up Vikram's mess of releasing the magic. And they just develop in each of their different character arcs throughout the series. I really enjoy all the characters. I wasn't sure that I would, like usually in this context, is like I wasn't too worried about, you know, the world that they were throwing them into, because they loved the Librarians world, and I wasn't overly concerned about that. It was mostly these new characters that they would bring in, because that is, to some extent, that's the heartbeat of the Librarians, is the different characters and how they deal with problems and how they react to all these different things. And there are episodes in the original series where we're focused on a problem or a person from a particular character's past and how they work through an issue they had with this person, or how they overcome this fear that they've had, and all of that stuff. And it's about them going out and finding magic and yay adventures, but it's also about the characters themselves, so heavily about the characters themselves and how they handle all these different issues, how they come together and work together as a team, and just all the different skills that they bring to the table. And that is at its core what the series is about, is the characters and how they interact with this world. And so that was my biggest worry going into this, was that they would have half-baked characters, half-hearted characters that were just supposed to be carbon copies of the old characters and brought in, which you can definitely tell Lysa is kind of the Cassandra character of this series, is the science-y one and whatever else, but she has her own character, and that is what sets her apart from Cassandra. She has her own character, and she's her own person. She's not just copy and paste Cassandra with a different actress and go. And then Connor is kind of a mix of Ezekiel and Jacob, and he's a little bit of a mix of that, and because of that, he's not a copy of both of them. He has aspects that each of those characters possess, but he is his own person and his own character because of that combination. And Vikram is very much kind of Flynn Carson coded, with the chaotic energy side of it, and he can be rather blusterous and arrogant a little bit in his ability. But again, he has his own character, and he has his own struggles and his own things that make him his own character. So that's good. Charlie is very much not Eve. Like, she has some aspects where she's like, I was a military kid, and like there are things about my past I don't want you to know, that I don't think you need to know. But I feel like that's sort of a staple in all of the Guardians in this universe. But other than that, she is a very different character from Eve. So I enjoy that. We also have Mrs. Asterlat, who is the Jenkins of this show. She is the caretaker of Vikram's annex. She is an immortal from Arthurian time, or before, or even before. From Arthurian time. We have Jenkins is Galahad. We have the main villain from the first season of the OG series is Lancelot. We have Mrs. Asterlat is in this series, she is also a knight, but like she was once Lancelot's lover until she discovered he is power hungry, and then he went on back on his oaths, that kind of thing. We have just all these different characters they bring in that go by different names, but they are immortals from Arthurian time, and they are the different knights, they are whatever else. And it's so if Mrs. Asterlat shows up, she is the caretaker, the Jenkins of this universe, of Vikram's annex, and she's a fairly entertaining character. She's kind of like the opposite of Jenkins. So we have Jenkins in the OG series, who is just like content to stay in the annex at all times and like just research magic and kind of experiment and invent things with magic to make it useful in a sense. And then we have Mrs. Asterlat, who has just been going out and learning every single hobby she possibly can in her long lifetime. She has held every job that she possibly can at this castle where the annex is located, and is just constantly out and doing things and just whatever else, and gets on Vikram's butt every time he tries to use magic to try and do his job. So they're like totally opposites, and I love it. But yeah, so it's so cool. You can see like the similarities between the OG characters and these characters, but they are also so different. And you, instead of being like, oh, they just like are trying to replace Cassandra with Lysa, it's more like you look at Lysa, see the similarities, and go, ah, we need Lysa and Cassandra to meet. We need this to happen, which is happening in season 2. I'm so excited. Anyway. So instead of like seeing them as a replacement, it's more like you look at them, see the similarities, and go, I just want them to meet these other characters that we already love and already have investment in. So they do the characters very well, and I enjoy it. Yeah. And they still have like the ridiculous campiness of all of the craziness of the episodes, which is good. I love it. It has definitely the same tone as the original series had, which I really appreciate and I love. Yeah, it brings in some new things, new artifacts, whatever else that are cool. Well, it's all new artifacts, but like, there's one episode in particular that I'm thinking of that just immediately it started, and you had a little intro, and I went, I know exactly which episode they took inspiration from for this one. At least that's what it felt like. So in the OG series, I do not remember which specific season it was. It might have been season 4. Anyway, there's some sort of magic entanglement between magical energy in a lab, in like a military facility, and a video game that was on one of the military personnel's computers. And so suddenly, even the librarians are transported into a video game level. And the only way to stop this magical thing and escape the level and escape this like time loop that they're in, they need to finish this video game level. I love the episode. It's so good, and it's so pivotal to showing Ezekiel's character. So anyway, that's what this episode reminded me of. So in the new series, we have a moment where they all, Lysa, Charlie, and Connor, and Vikram, I guess, they get an artifact that is like the devil's dagger, basically. It kills things that are not alive. So they go through the others go through the door. I saw it glitch, and I went, I think I know exactly what's going to happen here. And then Vikram goes through and he ends up in the annex, but he's all by himself. The others end up in a mansion with a bunch of different characters, and I watched the whole thing, and I'm just like, I think I know where this is going. And so they're in this mansion with a bunch of different characters that are very like two-dimensional, like you know what their character is, and that is what they are as a person. And then Connor goes, and he pulls out this murder mystery book. And I don't remember I think they were going through his bag or something because he had the devil's dagger on him. And he pulls out the book and he's like, yeah, it's a good book, murder mystery, whatever else. And I know exactly where this is going. So they step through the magical door, and it mingled with this book in his bag, and suddenly they're thrown into the devil's prison, or an aspect of the devil, into the devil's prison. But because of the magical entanglement between the door and the book, they are now caught in the midst of a murder mystery. And I knew exactly where it was going because it was so similar to the video game episode as far as like how and why the particular setting was the way it was. It was great. Not my favorite episode from the new season. It wasn't a bad episode, I just like, I don't know. It was mostly the devil's design that got me thrown off. Cause it's like, twist, it's this person, not this person, but then like took on devil form, and I'm just like, that's so mid. Which is part of the quirkiness of the show, is that like the effects and whatever else are not as high as so many other projects. But it was just a little bit less than, I guess, other things were in the series. I don't know. But anyway, it reminded me of the video game episode almost immediately. And so that's what my brain was thinking of the entire time. Maybe that's why, because the video game episode was really, 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 really good. And this was not quite at the same level. And my brain just immediately started comparing them from the beginning of the episode. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Anyway, I really enjoyed the series. I'm very, very sad that I have to wait until 2026 to get more of these characters, of this plot. It's of the librarians in general. It's so good. I'm really excited that they're bringing Cassandra back, for at least for as cameos and whatever else. Because that was one thing I went into and was like, oh, Jacob's back, or any of the other characters gonna show up at all this season? And they didn't. Like, they were referenced or whatever else, but they never showed up. So it'll be fun to have Cassandra show up. We also have, oh gosh, Dominic Monaghan? Something like that? Mary from the Lord of the Rings is coming in as a character. I believe he is Merlin, because we obviously end the season with like this whole lead into the next season where we have Merlin escapes a tree where he's apparently been trapped. We assume he's been trapped. And he's just like, whatever, something is coming. I am Merlin. That aspect of it. And he comes out and I knew he was familiar. My brain said Pippin, but I knew that was wrong. And so I watched the like promo or whatever for season 2, and Dominic Monaghan showed up on the screen. I went, it's Mary, not Pippin! So I'm pretty sure he's Merlin. If I'm wrong, then I must be bad in faces, but I'm pretty sure that the Merlin that popped out of the tree was Mary from Lord of the Rings. So that'll be fun. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to season 2, and I can't wait. I've went into a little slump of just watching little AMV music video things of the Librarians, mostly the OG series, because no one really makes next chapter ones. It's fine. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Librarians, the next chapter, and the Librarians universe as a whole. It's so good. It's so campy. It's so fun. I love it. I highly recommend it. It's just really fun. It's a really fun series to watch. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this series, this universe. I cannot wait for more personally. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you watched the OG series or the movies or any of that? What did you think of the reboot, how they did the characters, and how they handled keeping that same tone or whatever else, and just any thoughts? I am ready to discuss. I love discussing. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Share yours in the comments. I post videos on this channel on Saturdays and on my audiobook channel on Thursdays. I'll see you next time.